Hello, all. It's your host, Cam, and co-anchor, John.
What's up, everybody?
And we're tired of having people flake out on us, so we're doing this episode anyway. So we are talking action director and producer Jon McTiernan. You know him probably for little-known movies such as Joel Silver Productions that are Predator and Die Hard, and then various other nationwide productions such as Die Hard Free, Last Action Hero, Basic, 13th Warrior, Thomas Crown Affair, and kind of just appeared from the spotlight following a producer wiretapping hacking scandal. And he keeps saying he's coming back, and we don't know if he's burned bridges or what, but I think more than enough we can speak for the fact that he's just extremely influential. He understands about character, he understands about how to create any kind of thrill or chill, and he's had plenty of other movies that have been rediscovered, whether it's something like his debut such as Nomads or something infamous like the Rollerball remake. John, what was your I think you'd said before you had seen pretty much all of his blockbusters back to back and catching up on some more recent ones. Where do you rank him as a filmmaker, as his pedigree?
Well, he's actually in my top 5 directors of all time.
He basically understands it. He has had very private interviews. It's so cool. Out of all the episodes of the director's documentary series that was on Stars, his episode was often one of the favorite ones because he basically reinstated a lot of what he had said in the past and how if you really want to be in this industry, you got to dedicate so much time to it and make sure you really want to do that before you say yes. And he also... They released a Blu-ray recently for Last Action Hero, and people forget it was a total flop back in the day. It was supposed to be the next best thing, and it was mismanaged by Sony, and they released it the same week as freaking Jurassic Park. Yeah, and he got fired, and basically the commentary track, he seems very displeased because basically he's reconfirming how, they took it away from me, and so it's just interesting for a cult movie to hear a filmmaker basically, instead of just doing the typical disowning, just feeling very shattered as if they don't even know what kind of an identity it is. Because what's funny is if you look at the movie, it doesn't really feel like too many cooks were in the kitchen, but yet it's one of those where it didn't feel that way. And he's, of course, become also recognized for also producing some TV movies like Quicksilver Highway, The Right to Remain Silent, and even an obscure 1991 version TV movie of Robin Hood that came out around the same time as the Costner flick. This one happened to have Uma Thurman and Patrick Bergin. And people have also really talked highly about his 2 Sean Connery movies. You do one that's a big hit, The Hunt for Red October, and then you do one that's not so much a hit. That's kind of a cult movie called Medicine Man.
Yeah. It's a very different type of film of him.
And he doesn't ever show that he's restricted to doing just PG or PG-13 or R. He basically is all over the place. Whatever he's thinking of doing, he's going to do.
Yeah, that's why he's so unique. He's one that isn't bothered by ratings. It's more just about what's right for the story, what's right for the characters.
Yep. And I don't know why everyone hates so much on Basic, because it's basically another Usual Suspects type whodunit. And I
prefer Usual Suspects, to be fair. But it's one that, yes, there was a lot of twists in it. I know some would say it's convoluted. And I mean, you could say that, but to me, it all manages to weave in and out and just to at least have a cohesive story. Unlike some films that try to do that, especially nowadays.
Out of all movies I've seen, it's hardly one I would say is problematic or unwatchable. And it's like, when's the last time anyone saw kind of something like this, whether it was a soldier's story? And it's just, you don't often see a military mystery unless it's NCIS, and it's not trying to be like that.
I wonder if it influenced NCIS by any means, because it feels like that was influenced by Basic, but I don't know.
Who knows? Same year. Who knows? Everyone talks. Altogether, what's the real reason that you think, again, people are coming back to viewing The 13th Warrior as an influential Viking movie, Thomas Crown Affair as a wonderful heist comedy, Hunt for Red October as the most influential modern day submarine movie, and Die Hard and Predator as can't go anywhere without being mentioned in the same sentence as classic 80s action blockbuster, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think he has kind of a Spielberg kind of approach, or is he kind of more of a just maybe like a 60s or 70s type, like Richard Fleischer or John Irvin or Richard Donner even?
I'd say more like the Richard Donner approach more than Spielberg.
Because he has done all kinds of crowd pleasers, and we've heard about all kinds of movies just being unexpected hits, and yet he's definitely not workmanlike.
No.
And yet he's got an Uma Thurman spy assassin film that has Travis Fimmel supposedly coming out. That's supposed to be kind of, it sounds almost like a Star Wars Fifth Element kind of sci-fi adventure movie called Tot Seti 4, but I'm going to hold my breath on that because for years he was like attached to stuff post 2006.
That's true. It never gets off the ground.
Well, and it's so long to be outside of the director's chair. You're better off producing and highlighting stuff at that point.
That's true.
But yeah, whatever stupid wiretapping thing is, was he the instigator, or was he trying to expose someone who was crooked by pulling some unethical measure? It seems just so bizarre. Because I think he was forced to quit the guild as a result of that.
Oh, see, that I didn't know.
I thought so. I could look it up again. I've seen some of it before, and it was just like, I never ever got really a full story on it. It was just weird.
Especially, it's like different accounts, what happened. It gets all confusing.
You don't, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was charged in federal court, making a false statement to an FBI investigator earlier that year. There was evidence he had hired a PI to illegally wiretap 2 people around the year 2000. It's like he was trying to get some serious money. He headed to prison in 2013. They stalled it in 2006. Just so weird.
Well, it's interesting reading that while in prison, he managed to write a possible sequel for Thomas Crown Affair under the working title Thomas Crown and Missing Lioness.
Jeez. So he had to basically take on any kind of movie at that point.
Yeah. Which, okay. I didn't know that until now, so maybe he could make that. You never know. If they'll let him, they probably won't at this point. Which is sad because I'd love to see at least one more film from him at some point. Like I said, he's very influential to later action directors. I'm sure they said before, particularly with Die Hard. We know that.
Oh, yeah, and it is so funny how he was very intimidated by Joel Silver. He already made Predator in South America, and it was kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark or Lawrence of Arabia for him. He's hiring a very wonderful Australian cinematographer who's got all this, non-static camera work. And he's, using Craig R. Baxley for the stuff back in LA involving the tree falls and what have you. And, you got a then unknown Van Damme playing the title creature, quitting halfway. Better yet, less than halfway, and just a quarter into it, and it's just so hysterical how he was, by that point he was getting sick of Joel Silver's shit. So then, that was his only thing, is like he really wanted Die Hard 3 to technically have been the second movie, and he's like, well, I'll come back as long as Joel is anywhere near there. And at that point, Care Local Pictures had owned the rights, and so they're just like, hey, we just want to take advantage of the Planet Hollywood formula. We'll bring you back one way or the other.
Makes sense. There's disagreements with Joel, especially I'll probably about Joel.
Yeah, Joel is just a fascinating individual because it's just, you never know what he's going to do, and if it's going to be despicable or just outrageous or very inspirational. Is like his work speaks for itself, and yet at the same time, you're just like, Joel, buddy, you got to back down now.
So you got to calm down.
Calm down.
Do what to do. He's not like that. But it's also fascinating, I should point out, that of all people, Schwarzenegger was the reason why McTiernan was hired for Predator, since he had seen his first film, Nomads.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
a lot of people keep revisiting it. I don't get it either.
As a fan of McTiernan, somebody who loves him,
hell, even as a fan of Brosnan, that's like the only good thing that comes out of this. This lot, it's just his collaboration with him, and he brings it back for Thomas Crown. But it's like, man.
It's so like Nomads, because I watched it and I'm like, what did Schwarzenegger see in that? But I mean, I'm glad because
I have tried. I really have, and I just don't care for the visuals, and it's just the pacing is just so uninspired, and
the story is a mess.
It must have been just at the time. It just was very weird and unusual, and it just caught his eye because you look at it now, you're like, it's just, dated or not, it does not hold my interest. But it's such a blind spot, and it's his first movie, so he gets off on it. It's not like with a movie that's like a disappointment from a once, accomplished filmmaker like Coppola, where you're like, man, dude, what happened? And going back to his scandal, apparently the wiretap wasn't successful. It was just the fact that he lied to the feds. So they decided to charge him. So there you go.
But I just thought it was interesting, especially after that, doing Predator and Die Hard, which is like, I'd say one of the biggest comebacks for a director after doing Nomads. And not a lot of directors are able to do that. Some end up falling even further. He's one of the few that didn't do that. Unless you get to roll a ball, but that's a different story. In general.
It's just so bizarre.
Yeah. I tried. I couldn't really finish it. I'm sorry to say. Even as a fan of McTiernan, I couldn't.
Yeah. I've done it too many times on MGM HD. Not doing that again. So
what can you do?
Apparently the guy who did the wiretapping is Anthony Pellicano, also known as the infamous Hollywood fixer. He was incarcerated at a federal prison in Texas and later at Terminal Island in California. He was released in 2019. Post poor health. Jesus. So he's worked for clients such as supposedly Tom Cruise, Steven Seagal, and wiretap people like Keith Carradine because he was dating his daughter, and Gary Shandling, Kevin Nealon, and Sylvester Stallone. Jesus. This dude's an asshole.
Yeah, I would say. Wow.
That's so wild. Oof. We just got a dark chapter. Real life Ray Donovan. So I don't have any other real closing lines, I think you pretty much have summed up what's interesting about him. If you were to suggest, I guess, an order in which to watch his movies, would you start with Predator and then Die Hard, or?
That's usually what I would say.
Okay, just
start
in order.
Predator, Die Hard, then Red October. I mean, if you want, you could do Medicine Man. Depends on your mood, you know.
Hell, let's do 13th Warrior and then Die Hard.
Okay, so Thomas.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for like a director's cut of that somewhere, just because people have talked about so many additional scenes.
Some that's in the trailer that's not in the movie.
Well, yeah, that's in the trailer, and Michael Crichton was the author, and he was involved, and so he took it over. And yet, again, much like Last Action Hero, it's unlike other people where you can often tell just based on their clear signature style. You really can't tell who shot what. It must have been a pretty solid crew.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people who could regard as a very good performance for Antonio Banderas to be playing this Arab adventurer, and it just must have been such a chaotic shoot that, again, some of the co-stars bashed it at the time, like Omar Sharif, and then it just did not make its money back. But yet anyone who I've often introduced it to has generally found it pretty favorable, and it just seems like, I don't know, just snobby people who don't really like it, and yet nowadays it's definitely going to be ranked as one of the best Viking adventure movies. And it's,
especially if they read the book for it.
Oh, the book Eaters of the Dead is great, but even if going into it cold, you would probably just love the gory swordplay, you know. And it was just good for him to go from, you know, Banderas to go from playing Zorro and then doing that, and it was just an interesting take on just there's so many allusions to Homer's The Iliad and Beowulf, and you're just like, yeah, this is what every other Lord of the Rings type epic should be like. Instead of trying to ape all these other fantasy movies that are, again, popular but not necessarily known for being good. And not a Lord of the Rings this, but you know, let be more like 13 Warriors than, shall we say, Hunger Games. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rollerball is just interesting because it's like, it just seems like he's just aping shots from Die Hard. It really does make you wonder if he was forced to do that movie, because it is trashy, but it also feels like a direct-to-video movie that somehow got sent to theaters. It's not well known enough for me to really just talk about it enough, and yet it's also not the worst piece of shit I've seen. It's just,
sadly,
it's kind of just trashy, and you're just like, was this meant for Sci-Fi Channel?
Well, the only reason is because some of the cast that was in there, they were popular at the time.
Well, it's even funnier how it was one of many movies in the 2000s that basically flopped. It was known for being a PG-13 movie, and then came to home video, and you could only get it in the R-rated version. And it's...
Yeah, that's what was wild times.
Yeah, but like literally near the end, the villain is literally doing his best Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman impression, just his hair and the way it's lit. And you're just like, so basically he just was making a very confusing movie and just wanted to get it over and done with. Altogether, I think other than his small blemishes, he has a pretty overall agreeable resume, but it's just funny seeing that he has just the most bizarre scandal, and everyone at the end of the day just goes, hey, the guy who did Predator and Die Hard, what happened to him?
Like I said, hopefully one day he could make another film. I'll be happy to see it. If he wants to, but
we don't have to like the person.
Yeah.
And
plenty of people, I like his actors.
Out of any shitty movie to be curious about, it seemed like he was like afraid that the producer was like denying him certain funds or what have you. It's just so weird. makes you wonder how he even got acquainted with the guy to begin with, because he just doesn't seem like that type, and yet
No.
here he is. He's using a infamous fixer. It's like, damn, okay. Yeah. Any other closing thoughts?
No, like I said, he's always been one of my favorites. I mean, besides the scandal and all, of course, like I said.
If you were to do a movie based on his life, who would play him?
That's a good question, actually.
It
could be anybody.
Tapping the wiretapper, the McTiernan's story.
Oh God, now they're going to make that. I know they are.
They'll probably put out a cease and desist, Lifetime, USA Network. You can't make this.
What was Lifetime is going to be really tame. So,
and even then, having watched the show Ray Donovan, which deals with fixers, of all the sleazebags and scumbags they have in that show, I'm always wondering who they might have been inspired by.
That's true.
It's like, who is this perv inspired by? Who is this MMA fighter who's very petty inspired by? Because it's not Tyson. That's too easy. It's got to be someone else I don't know about. Or is it just their own creativity? They've seen years of tabloids and they're like, let's have this write itself. Give us your best shot. It'd be ironic, though, if they did have him direct an episode. It'd be like, oh, too close to home. Method directing.
Yeah. Well, I'll be fascinated if he wants to, but hey, you never know.
For this spy assassin movie that may or may not ever come out. Oh, McTiernan, you better do it, buddy. Your days are numbered.
Yeah.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah.
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up